evening, Toastmasters, the world, and all the people at home, all of our guests that are here this evening. We are very privileged to have so many guests. This is TV Toastmasters Club number 9523. We meet the first Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. and the third Saturday of the month at 9 a.m. I'd like to call our meeting to order and welcome our guests. We have Ryan Rodersheimer, and happily some of these guests are taking part in our meeting tonight. We're really thrilled. Jean Ho is running a camera. Beth Priest is going to be giving us the word of the day and counting our ahs and ums. Ryan is going to help interview one of our speakers. Robin, we're very privileged to have Rosa Grippa, who is the Junior Miss 2013 National Sweetheart, and her mom, Robin Grippa. They are here to help, and she even has volunteered to answer a Tabletopics question. So I'm real thrilled. Beth was giving us the word of the day. And I would like to introduce our Toastmaster Day, who is a fairly new member. She has retired from Kroger's and is now has some leisure time. Susan Gaker.
Thank you, Carol. Hello, and welcome to this evening's Toastmaster meeting. As Carol said, I'm Suzanne Gaker, and I will be your Toastmaster for this evening. To begin, I'd like to introduce Beth Priest, who is going to provide us with our word of the day, as well as take the role of ah, counter, and grammarian. Thank you, Beth.
Okay. The word of the day is thanks to Carol. I just Googled it. So it's going to be bemused, bewildered, or confused, lost in thought, or preoccupied. So an example is he was not bemused by the voice he heard. He was bemused by to the grandeur of the position which he aspired. So bemused.
Thank you for that word, and I will certainly have to keep that in mind through the session today to see if I can include that in one of my comments. At this time, I'd like to reintroduce Carol, who will come up and introduce us to our table topics, as well as the people who will give us their rendition of the table topics topic. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our very most welcome guest. The purpose of Table Topics is to help you think on your feet. When your boss asks you that question, instead of your brain freezing and you have nothing to say, you learn to have your brain working and think of something and give a good reply. So I will ask you a question, not of your choosing. You have 1 to 2 minutes to answer, just from the time you think about it, from the time you leave your seat to get up here to the lectern. And Diego will show the timing light at 1 minute. You've met the minimum, and if you don't, that's okay too when you're a first timer. At 1.5, he'll show the yellow light, and at 2, we hope that you will cut it off. My first question today is, how would you deal with a person that you have to work with and you don't really get along with, and you've been assigned a project with her? So I would like to know how Tony, even though he's a speaker, I am pressing people doing double duty. Tony, how would you handle a situation where you have to work with a difficult person?
Thank you very much. If I don't like someone, I have nothing to do with them. No, I'm kidding. Because the question does entail that this is a work situation. So we have to be professional and get along the best that we can. I say that I want to look at myself, really, and maybe why I don't get along with this person might have something to do with me and the way that I interact with people. Maybe there are some things I could improve about myself. And if this person also has some qualities about them that are hard to deal with, I might just kind of put up with some things and just be very professional and make sure that we both stay focused on the job and the task that we have to do. So in a work situation, that's how I would handle it, best I could.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you're not a blame and shame that it's all the other person's fault. Very good. Because a lot of times the difficult person, with my husband, I thought he was a difficult person. I found out it was me. My next one is a little bit easier, and I'd like to know, if I were riding in your car with you, what kind of music would I be listening to? And if I ask you to change the station, how would that affect you? I'd like to hear what Rosa has to say about that. Let's welcome Rosa, our American national queen here.
Well, I have to say, I wouldn't be very offended. I just have to deal with it. They don't like the music. I mean, that's what they like, not what I like, but they're entitled to share their opinion with other people. And I think that's very important when expressing yourself towards other people. And I think that if you express yourself, it helps a lot in life. And I think that everyone would like you a whole lot more. And technically, I wouldn't really like it, but because I want to listen to my music. But I'm good if you want to entitle your opinion. So always share what you have to say. It'll pay off.
Thank you, Rosa, for that very grown-up answer there. And you did I miss what kind of music it would be?
Any type.
Rock and roll, classical, classic. Oh, great. So I'd like riding with you. Okay, very good. My next question is to help you find out some things about Toastmasters. How are your listening skills? Do you think that's one of the things that we learn at Toastmasters? How to listen, and I would like to know how effective you think you are as a listener. How about Ryan?
I would like to think that I'm a fantastic listener, but honestly, I spend more time listening to my own thoughts and trying to decide what my opinion is. I get caught up in the conversation, and I tend to think more about what my opinion is over what I'm actually hearing. And I tend to kind of make decisions before I actually really allow that person to formulate their complete thought. So that's what I do.
Thank you. I have a habit of finishing other people's sentences. So listening is a skill that I didn't realize I needed. I didn't worry about speaking in public, had no fear of that, but I did find out I really needed to listen. That concludes my table topics for today, and I will return it to our Toastmaster to introduce our speakers for the day.
Thank you, Carol. Those were great topics. I really enjoyed listening to the topics as well as the people who presented them. At this time, I'd like to introduce Ryan, who will introduce our first speaker. So welcome Ryan to the podium. Thank you, Ryan.
Okay. What future do you envision for yourself? What dreams do you have? If you want your dreams to come true, you must have confidence in yourself and your abilities. A Toastmasters Club can help you build that confidence. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters shows you how to express yourself clearly and effectively. Make your dreams a reality. Join a Toastmasters Club.
Thank you, Rick and Ryan, for a fascinating discussion about Claremont County's animal situation. As an animal lover myself and as a volunteer at a no-kill shelter, I particularly appreciated the efforts that Rick and his organization have put forward to help the animals in Claremont County. At this time, I'd like to introduce our second speaker, who is Tony Martinez, who will talk to us about unexpected lessons. Tony is giving a speech out of the Competent Communications Manual, and as unexpected lessons we'll hear about, I want to introduce a little bit about Tony first. Tony is a friend of Rick Barron's and joined Toastmasters in March after Rick talked Tony into giving an advanced manual speech, although not yet a Toastmaster. I'm sure he was bemused. Tony will keep us listening with his recollection of unexpected lessons. Let us welcome Tony Martinez, Unexpected Lessons.
Well, I'll just start off by saying that this last week was one of the most emotionally draining weeks that I've had in my life. I was reviewing my calendar. I was looking at my calendar, reflecting back on this week, one of the most emotionally draining weeks that I've had in my entire life. So, I'm sure that all of you can relate to this kind of situation. These are the things that we go through in life. So, I'm in the throes of this week, and I got to sit down and write this speech. And so, I'm sitting down, nothing. But you know, I need to produce. I need to produce some material. I got nothing. Nothing left. I'm exhausted. You know, one good thing about reaching that point, mind is drained. The only thing left you have to be is real. So, you know, I'm going to come out here and put on this show. Can't do it. So I want to step out here and be Mr. Oh, I'm the most powerful speaker in the world. Sorry, it's not there. So what's left to give when you reach that point? The only thing that I have to share tonight is my humanity, which works out because this speech is supposed to be about my life. So question, how does one cover their entire whole life in the short time frame of a half hour? Oh, at 6 minutes? You know, that makes it even more of a challenge. So how? I decided to cover milestones in life, significant events that happen to us as we age, and major turning points in life, life's lessons, points of growth, spiritual and emotional, each tied to a specific age. So, at 4 years old, there I was. That's where I learned to be an observer, to take time, to notice and look and feel the world around us. You know, at 4 years old, I'm sitting in the front yard of my parents, and I see that bug. It looks like it comes from an ancient civilization. I see that beautiful blue bird that navigates through the tall grass with such a mastery and then flies. Mr. Bird, you are so beautiful. And I see this leaf, but this time the sun is shining through it. And all of the intricate workings inside are brought forth to me. And now I feel the warmth of the sun on my skin, and I realize this life is very kind. So I'm 9 years old, and this is the point where I learned that this up here is much, much stronger than this. And being in a martial arts class, and our teacher was having us hold out our arm. I'm tired. Hold it out there. But it hurts. Hold it out there. I don't like this very much. Good job. You were tired and you pushed through. And you learned that that our minds are much stronger than our bodies, and but you've trained for this and you've paid the price to get that. Now, age 14, that's where I learned that if you're scared about doing something and you do it anyways, that you'll get a positive result. You know what? You can even look foolish and still get a good result. So I was so nervous, so scared that I couldn't even talk. And that's when I asked Michelle Casey if I could walk her home. And she said yes. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I had no idea what I was doing after we got home. And it must have been a good thing that, I guess, these girls read magazines and stuff like that, because she knew what she was doing. And so that's how we learn. In adulthood, I learned the importance of how important it is that we live our life's passion. Not just knowing about it, knowing what it is, but to live it. We graduate college, hopefully. It's not a requirement, but we find some success, get a little bit comfortable in life. And it's a good thing when we start to find our own voice in the world. We now have more freedom, so we can express our voice and speak it out. My question to you is it the right voice for you? Is it the one of our true passion? Now, hopefully we end our lives and we look back. Do we say, I really felt it, this life. I loved it. I expressed my true purpose. And now I will pass out of this life without resistance. If you have any amount of time left, it's not too late. Do the thing and you have the power. Because this life is never about a final destination that we get to. It's about taking a journey. And the good news is, the moment that you take the first step, you get to feel that passion right from the very start. Now, sometimes we all just need a little permission. And so now, I give you permission. Go out and enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. What an awesome presentation. You painted pictures with your words, and I felt like I was right there with you the whole time. It was emotional, and it was dramatic, and it was amusing. So thank you. Our third Toastmaster presentation is Steve Ahrenholz, DTM, and he will be presenting out of the Competent Communication Manual. Steve is current Sergeant at Arms for TV Toastmasters. Steve is past club president, VP of Education, VP of Membership, and area governor. He will talk to us about a classic children's tale and how he found it relates to his Toastmasters experience. Please help me welcome Steve Ahrenholz, DTM, who will present his speech, A Tale and Toastmasters.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, our honored guests. How many of you have heard of the story, The Little Engine That Could? The story is one of the most popular and famous illustrated children's book titles of all time. The best incarnation of this story appeared in a book first published in 1930 by Pratt and Monk. The author of the book, Watty Piper, was a pseudonym for Arnold Monk of Pratt and Monk. The origins of the story itself are clouded in mystery and controversy. Different versions of the story have been published for the past 100 years. Signature phrases of the story, such as, "I think I can," first appeared in 1902 in an article in a Swedish journal. In the tale, a long train has to be pulled over a high mountain pass. Larger engines, which are treated anthropomorphically, which means they could talk, refused for a variety of reasons. The request finally came around to a small switch engine in the rail yard. When the switch engine received the request, he thought, well, I'll try it. The engine succeeds in pulling this long train over the top of the mountain, all the while repeating his motto, I think I can, I think I can. The story presents the values of perseverance and positive thinking. You may ask, well, what does that have to do with Toastmasters? From my perspective, I think a lot. Toastmasters clubs provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which everyone can develop communication and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth. I like the continuing opportunities that Toastmasters presents to grow as both a speaker and a leader. Unlike 1 or 2 day courses, and in fact I got an email today about a 1-hour course that you can take to improve your speaking skills. In Toastmasters, I can participate in a variety of speaking skills every month. I get continuing feedback on what I'm doing well as areas where I may want to try something different to improve my speaking abilities, to achieve more effectively what I am trying to accomplish with speaking skills. Toastmasters also provides us an opportunity to develop our leadership skills. We learn how to run meetings. There are a variety of roles in the course of Toastmasters activities throughout the year. You have opportunities to be a club officer, so you also develop your leadership skills. With the speaking skills, one of the things that I also like about Toastmasters is that you never know exactly where you may be asked to do something. Just like life, you don't know whether you're going to have to speak to a small group or a large group. You don't know if you're going to have to do it with a lot of preparation, or you might have to do it right now. An example that I have from my life as far as speaking skills, I'm a cantor and worship assistant in my church. Now, you can imagine it's not real easy to find a lot of people who are willing to sing a portion of the liturgy in front of a congregation all by themselves. Currently, I'm actually looking for some other people who would like to be cantor at my church because I'm scheduled every other week, and in the weeks I'm not scheduled, when I'm there, I still wind up canting. Another example from my work life is that in 2010, my employer sent me, along with one of my colleagues, down to the Gulf of Mexico to respond to the Deepwater Horizon disaster. Now, I can honestly tell you, I have never thought in my Toastmasters career about preparing to give a speech as part of a disaster response. We were sent 50 miles offshore into the Gulf to the site of the Deepwater Horizon disaster. We were on a drilling rig that was drilling one of the 2 relief wells. We needed to talk to the people on the vessel, and I found myself in front of an auditorium full of roughnecks, roustabouts, and rig workers, explaining to them why we were there, that we were there to evaluate their chemical exposures from the oil that was coming up 5,000 feet from below the surface of the water, and that we would appreciate their cooperation. I can't say that I ever really thought about myself in my Toastmasters work having to do something like that. So it prepares you to handle things, and it also prepares you to deal with the unexpected. I find that Toastmasters hasn't eliminated all of my speaking anxieties, but I know that I'm much better prepared to deal with a broad variety of situations. I've learned how to deal with those unplanned events that occur, oftentimes at the last minute. Toastmasters has helped me to develop skills running meetings, giving presentations, talking to groups both large and small, and under a variety of conditions. Like the little switch engine in the railroad yard, Toastmasters instills confidence and a positive outlook. I think I can, and after I'm finished, I can join the little engine and say, I knew I could. I knew I could. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Steve. It was a nice reminder to recall that story that I heard as a child, The Little Engine That Could. And I think Steve did a great job of helping us to connect the value of Toastmasters, because it's more than just about learning how to give a speech. It is, as he said, how to prepare for unexpected events, which happen every day to all of us in life. So thank you, Steve. At this time, I'd like to introduce Carol Kormelink, who is our general evaluator today. So help me welcome Carol back to the podium. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Suzanne. My job as general evaluator is to introduce the evaluators and to evaluate the meeting as a whole and to call for the other reports. Our first evaluator today is going to be Sheila Mudd-Baker, who is going to evaluate Rick's speech as a talk show guest. Let us welcome Sheila Mudd-Baker, a distinguished Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, not Toastmaster, but she is a Toastmaster. So, I am evaluating Rick, and Rick was working with the Public Relations Advanced Manual, which is this one right here, and his requirement was to build goodwill towards an organization by giving the audience factual information about an organization and its effect on the community. And he was doing it as a guest on a talk show. And guess what? Rick has been a guest on a talk show doing this very same thing. So the question of whether or not he could do that, take this speech and translate it to radio or television, yes, he's already done it. Was Rick's expertise made clear? I think it was. He is a president of an organization dedicated to animals. He is talking about a situation which is relevant to us, even if we live in Anderson Township and don't have animals wandering around, or we don't see animals wandering around. Many of us own animals or are interested in the plight of animals who are without people taking care of them. So this is relevant to the community as a whole. His research was quite thorough. He gave us history, facts, dates, issues. How well did Rick do? Well, his vocal variety is wonderful. It enhanced his message, and he has spoken passionately and clearly on this topic. Now, how effectively did Rick answer the questions? That's always the issue when someone is watching a guest on a talk show. I believe that Rick, in his using a conversational tone and showing real interest in answering the questions actually given, gave very good examples that would help the audience understand what he was talking about. For example, when he talked about the rescue coordinator, that's a specific example. He didn't just give generalities, he gave examples of how things work. I was very impressed because it sounded to me that Rick's organization is changing the culture of Claremont County. It may be a small way, and it may be in relationship only to animals. He hasn't changed all of Claremont County, but for animals in Claremont County, the world is a better place. Very effective. Rick, how would I make this better? I think I might bring an animal. I might show pictures. I might invite people to come visit. no-kill shelter. I might invite them to volunteer. That would make it even more effective. Or ask them to send money or to do something that would take their information that you've given them and say to them, you too can make a difference. This is what you can do. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Sheila, for that very insightful evaluation. Our next evaluator evaluating Tony's speech will be Rick Barron. And Rick Barron, as he comes up from the camera here, Rick Barron is an advanced communicator bronze, and he's an advanced leader silver. He's almost ready to be a DTM. Rick
Thank
Barron.
you, Carol. This is probably the most fun you'll have as a Toastmaster, to evaluate somebody's very first speech. Because it's from here they set their foundation to move forward. And Tony, I've got to tell you, you've got a really strong foundation. The goal of the icebreaker is to have a clear beginning, body, and conclusion, as well as to allow us to get to know you. And what you did was you used a number of advanced techniques. I think we talked about it earlier, a number of advanced techniques in your speech. You're very good at gestures. You're very comfortable up here. And you actually use the stage. It's kind of hard to do that with the television, but you did it. You were very comfortable up here. In addition, you mastered humor. In the comment that you made about, oh, right, 6 minutes, right? Everybody kind of laughed and chuckled about that. And that was really off the cuff. Wasn't planned. You painted pictures, as we heard earlier, so that we could visualize what was going on. And the speech did have the opening where we've all been. I got to give a speech, and I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about. The whole body portion where you covered your entire life in a matter of 3.5 minutes or something of that nature. And then the conclusion where you challenged us, provided us kind of some insightful lessons, and challenged us to think of life as a journey. Do the thing and you'll have the power. One opportunity to improve that I saw, that I think will kick off your speech and make it even that much better, and that is the opening. You got up here and you said, I'll just start off by saying that I had one of the most emotional weeks that I've ever had. As opposed to standing up here and said, you ever had one of those weeks? I mean, just one of those weeks. Well, that's what I just came off of. So taking that opening, same thing, same concept, and just making a little more power and a little more punch, you've got a lot of gestures, humor, you got the organization down, very insightful messages. So I'm very much looking forward to what's in store. I know that we won't be bemused by the rest of your speeches.
Thank you, Rick. That was a very thorough evaluation. You listened well. I like when people listen. Evaluating Steve's speech will be Tony Martinez. And Tony, if you would like to come up here, double duty today.
Thank you. I'm evaluating Steve. And as always, excellent speaker. Posture, Steve, your posture was poised and balanced. And gestures, very natural and evocative. Good job. Facial expressions, very animated. So very fitting to, especially when we're telling a story that's related to children and our childhoods. The animation is important. So I like the fact that you opened up with this story, The Little Engine That Could. You know, this story means so much to all of us. But most importantly, for the purpose of your speech, you tied it to that purpose, which was the strengths, the things that can be gained out of attending Toastmasters. And I like that you brought in 2 personal experiences, things that have happened to you or that you've been involved in since you've been in Toastmasters, the speech at the disaster. And you shared with us that you still have fear or some butterflies when you speak. And so I think that was very, we got to know you a little bit through that. You wrapped it up at the end going back to the story. And then, of course, the grand finale of I Know I Can. And so this all tied it back together nicely with strengths that you can gain from joining Toastmasters. So very good job. Thank you.
You are a good listener. That was very good. We will now have we will be bemused by our Alcounter Grammarian report by Beth Priest. If Beth would let us know how often we use the word of the day, if you'll come up and give us our ahs and ums counts. Let us welcome Beth, a visitor who has been pressed into duty.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start with our Toastmaster, Susan. You had a total of 6 slash ahs, so pretty good for the whole time. Tony with table topics, we had 8 uhs slash and uhs. And then Rosa with the other table topic, 0 uhs. Ryan with the other table topic, 1 Rick with breaking news, I had 1 and then Ryan with breaking news, I had 5 uhs. And then we have Tony, unexpected lessons. I have 8 slash uhs and uhs. Steve, A Tale of Toastmasters, 0. Sheila, evaluating Rick, 2 uhs. Rick, evaluating 0. And then Tony, evaluating 8 uhs. None for you.
Could you tell us how often we use the bemused word?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I counted that. Susan, 1, Rick, 1, and Carol, 1.
Very good. Thank you very much for that word. We now come to the timer report, which Diego will tell us how well we kept on time. Well, let's welcome Diego Martinez. He's a member of the Talk Toastmasters in Milford.
Thank you, Carol. My job today was to have the control of the time, which is I'm going to be very briefly. The first thing that we saw during the meeting was the first table topics. We have from just 1 minute to 2 minutes, and the first person was Tony, and he used only 15 seconds. Rosa came to the podium and she used only 59, so very close to. And Ryan was only 35 seconds, so that was pretty good when you were table topics. In terms of speaker number 1, we have Rick Barron and his interview with Brian. It was it's supposed to be from 8 to 10 minutes. I know from 3 to 4 minutes, and it went to 5 minutes and 57, including the questions as well. But his speech ended at 3 minutes, and then the rest was the questions, the Q&A. Speaker number two was Tony Martinez, and your speak supposed to be from 4 to 6. It went to 7:29. Be a little brief there. And the third one was Steve Ahrenholz. His speech was supposed to be from 5 to 7 minutes, and he used 6 minutes and 34 seconds. General evaluator, after we get the first evaluator, was Sheila Baker. She is supposed to be from 2 to 3 minutes, and she used 3 minutes and 46 seconds. Evaluator number 2 was Tony, and was Rick Barron, and he used 3 minutes precisely. That was from 2 to 3 minutes. And evaluator number 3 was Tony, and you use 1 minute 56 seconds. And the out counter was only 57 seconds, so it was pretty good.
Thank you very much
Thank you,
for
Carol.
timing for us, Diego. Did a very good job.
Thank you.
My job as a general evaluator is to evaluate the meeting as a whole and to evaluate the evaluators. And because we're running short of time, I would just say that I thought we had a good meeting. Everything was set up when I got here late, and the lectern was in place, and so was the banner. We did have a long time getting started because when you have trying to get here 5 o'clock from work and in the traffic, sometimes you get tied up. But I think if you like the meeting, let me hear it. Very good. I will return control of the lectern to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Evaluator. We were honored tonight to have 4 guests at our meeting, and at this time I'd like to ask if any of those guests would like to make any comments before we adjourn the meeting. And we were delighted that 3 of the 4 guests actually had active roles in our meeting tonight, so thank you for that, for the impromptu stepping up. I wanted to remind all of you that there are sign-up sheets for the Saturday, August 17th contests. So before you leave today, if you have any interest in signing up for that, please take the opportunity to do so. At this time, I'd like to thank you and return the meeting back to our presiding officer, Carol Kormelink.
Thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne has already mentioned that our Saturday meeting on Saturday, August the 9th. Okay. August the 17th is going to be a different meeting. It's going to be our humorous speech and table topics contest, where we have 4 contestants that will give a 5 to 7 minute humorous speech, and timing is very critical at a contest. If you go 1 minute over your 30-second leeway, you are eliminated. So it's real important that you learn to stay within time. We have 4 table topics contestants for humorous speech. We need counters, timers, we need judges, we need a contest chairperson, we need a Toastmaster. So if any of those roles will interest you, please sign up. And I'd like to invite the studio audience to our next meeting on August the 17th. And we do have a special guest that day. Anthony, who is the Lieutenant Governor of Education from Australia, is going to be in town for the Toastmasters International Convention with representatives from 116 countries around the world. And he is coming early to the convention and going to be at our meeting as a guest. So I'd like to see as many people here as we can have, and I thank everyone for being here. And I would like to mention that Jean Ho, who is running our camera, is joining tonight. So we will have another new member, and anyone else who is interested in joining, if you see me, I'm the treasurer, and we would happy to have you. And thank you all for coming and for tuning in, and stay tuned. Thank you.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well.
I take pride in the word
There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease,
Freedom requires leadership, and leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.